Chapter 1. Leveling with the Gods. The once serene twilight sky now rots away into darkness as the ground beneath disintegrates, erasing the place they'd called home for countless ages. The tower, an ancient bastion of power, was collapsing in on itself. A solemn silence filled the air as one of the gods finally uttered the unthinkable. "So we've lost." These words were more than just a statement. They carried a heavy finality that no one had dared to acknowledge until now. The 10 gods gathered around began to reminisce about their legendary exploits, their faces reflecting both nostalgia and despair. "So is this really the end?" one of them asked, voice trembling. "I never imagined that this would be how we part ways." Another murmured, as if grappling with the gravity of their situation. "Well said. I knew it had to end one way or another, but..." A third admitted, struggling to come to terms with their fate. "Let's not get mushy and make this quick. We're done for anyways," urged one of the gods, trying to be practical in the face of impending doom. "What do you mean, done for? It's not over yet," countered Sun Ogong. His voice was resolute. A platinum-haired man wielding a long staff, he held the esteemed title of the Great Sage, Heaven's Equal, and was known as the protagonist of the myth, Heavenly Realms Trader. Then comes Hercules saying, "You're talking big for someone who's on the brink of death," Hercules retorted, his lion-skin cloak and broken club reflecting the wounds of a hero who had once vanquished the Titans. With one arm severed and death looming, his defiance was fading. "I'm not dying," Hercules insisted, though his voice betrayed his doubt. "You might be an immortal, but can you really keep acting so mighty in front of them?" Sun Ogong's challenge was clear. Hercules' gaze shifted skyward to the terrifying forms of the outer gods, beings that defied mortal comprehension. Ugh. A pained exhalation escaped Hercules as he observed the outer gods, their presence tearing apart their world with a malevolent force. "They'll soon discover this place," one of the gods muttered, anxiety palpable. "There's a chance they already have," another added, heightening the tension. Then a pure white mass descended from nowhere, capturing the attention of all present. The gods turned their gazes toward the mass before shifting their focus to the figure who had brought it. "So I made it back," said Yuan, his voice a mix of relief and exhaustion. His jet-black hair and dark eyes were disheveled, his steps slow as he approached a makeshift chair fashioned from a tree trunk and sank into it. "It's just you?" Hercules asked, noticing the absence of Yuan's companions. "Uh-huh," Yuan replied, his demeanor heavy with the weight of loss. "Merlin, Asura, Vishnu, all of them?" Hercules' inquiry was met with a nod. "Yeah," Yuan confirmed solemnly. "They're all dead." The air grew heavy with mourning. The gods who had ventured with Yuan could not return. They were likely consumed by the outer gods, their existence now sustaining the malevolent forces of the other realm. Focus shifts back to the white mass. The somber mood didn't linger. The god's attention was drawn back to the white mass that Yuan had brought with him. "Who is this bastard?" one of the gods asked, bewildered. "Foolish chaos," Yuan revealed. The surviving gods were taken aback by the magnitude of this revelation. They had anticipated a significant entity, but the identity of Foolish Chaos surpassed their expectations. "Really? It's that guy?" Disbelief was evident in their voices. Yuan nodded. "With this, I now know for a fact." The realization dawns. Yuan had faced the brutal truth in his battle against the Foolish Chaos. An inner cannot beat an outer. The term inner referred to beings within the tower, like Yuan, who had risen to the pinnacle of their world. Despite their divine status, they were powerless against the outer gods, entities from beyond their realm that embodied pure calamity. "There is no way to win," the old man in the corner spoke softly. "For now, that is," he added, revealing the inner workings of a clock in his palm. Then we get a revelation of Kronos. The clock's intricate mechanics, known as the Kronos' clock movement, represented a sliver of hope. Yuan turned to Kronos, seeking answers. "Is this the only way?" "Return to an old world line, and start over," Kronos responded, his voice filled with the weight of finality. "If possible, I wanted to end this here," Yuan admitted, a note of regret in his tone. "This was the last chance," Kronos declared, his voice commanding despite his frail appearance. Kronos, a being with the power to control time, had crafted items imbued with temporal abilities. "But in the world line you will return to, I will probably have disappeared. It is a fair price to pay for the only way to go back in time and shift the world line. So do not waste your energy looking for me." "So you will cease to exist?" Yuan asked. "I do not know in what form it will be, but my disappearance does not matter," Kronos answered, underscoring the sacrifice involved. The story of their struggle had reached its end. Yuan's desire was to resolve their fight in the present, but defeat left him with no other option but to return to the past. So who will... Everyone turned their gaze towards Yuan. The decision was already made. The only question remaining was Yuan's acceptance. I expected it, but it really is going to be me? Yuan questioned. That is right, came the reply. There had been discussions about who would travel back to the past. Yuan and Sun Ogong were the main candidates. The decision was made in Yuan's absence, and now he was the chosen one. Why me? Yuan inquired. Because you entered last. Yet despite that, you are standing here right now, came the answer. Yuan had joined the tower later, but had adapted and climbed faster than anyone, proving himself in the process. You didn't forget, right? Beings on the upper floors are restricted in how they can intervene with the lower floors. So, in order to change the tower, we have to start from the lower floors and go up. Yeah, I know, Yuan acknowledged. That's why you're our only choice, the gods confirmed. Yuan sighed deeply as he reached out to take the clock movement. The device began to operate, its time-reversing mechanism registering instructions in Yuan's mind. When you return back in time, we probably won't have the same relationship we have now. So even if I don't recognize you, just let it slide. That me really won't know who you are. Knock some sense into the guys who can't comprehend the situation. If all else fails, you can just kill them, one of the gods advised. I hope you have a hard time, my friend, another wished Yuan well. Each god offered a final word, their farewells unrestrained. You guys are never short for words, Yuan remarked with a melancholic smile, taking one last look at his companions. In the aftermath of the Outer Gods' invasion, they had become unlikely allies. Once antagonists and rivals, they had united against a common enemy. Reflecting on their journey, Yuan found it almost impossible to believe. They were all very bullheaded. Tick-tock. The clock movement began its reverse, signaling the start of a new journey. Yuan watched as the countless clock mechanisms moved backward, preparing for the arduous task ahead. I guess I'm going to have a hard time. The scene fades out as Yuan braces himself for the challenges of rewriting history and confronting the Outer Gods once more. As the clock movement spun around Yuan, he felt the heavy pull of time, not as a physical presence but as a weight on his soul. His body, instead of being sent back in time, had been stripped of all its strength, left as a mere shell. It was a painful realization. He was starting from zero. So my body didn't return to the past. Instead, my time was rewound. His body felt like a deflated balloon, light and void of the power it once held. If only he had been sent back with his former strengths. Yuan awoke to a new reality, a reality that felt like emerging from a deep slumber. As he tried to piece together his location and time, his senses were abruptly jolted. A sudden, sharp pain struck his face. He blinked, struggling to focus through the blur of his vision. The aggressor was a man with a well-toned physique, a prominent nose, and an expression that attempted to be intimidating. Who is this guy? The memory was hazy, but the man's Letterman jacket sparked a flicker of recognition. It was from Cheongsol University, where Yuan had once been a student. The memories of his college days were distant, but the jacket was a clear reminder of his past life. Yuan was in one of the university's gyms. What was this guy's name? The name was just on the edge of his memory. His thoughts were interrupted as the man attempted another punch, missing wildly. Yuan took a step back, muttering to himself, "Was it tomorrow or today?" "What? What's today's date? Answer quickly, and I might overlook your pathetic punch." The man's face twisted into an even darker scowl. He was clearly offended and likely thought Yuan was mocking him. "What did you just say? You've lost your mind? What are you spouting?" The man's head spun, and he fell to the floor, his consciousness fading as he landed. Yuan glanced at the unconscious form and sighed. "I guess I don't need your help. I've got my phone after all." Yuan's phone was in his pocket, and it revealed the date as December 31st, 2019, the last day of the year. Perfect timing. It was the day the tutorial had first started. A good date, neither too early nor too late. Whether it was a coincidence or Kronos' choice, Yuan saw it as a fortunate twist. The time was 3 p.m, so 9 hours until midnight. Yuan's time was short. He needed to prepare quickly and select the right location for what was to come. It was going to be a busy day. As evening fell, Kim Myung-hoon awoke in the dark gym, his phone vibrating beside him. Groggy and disoriented, he remembered his plans for the evening. Oh, right, I was supposed to meet friends for drinks. Frustrated by the memory of his knockout, he swore under his breath. He had been embarrassed and knocked out while lecturing his underclassmen, an incident he would never live down. Time for revenge. He brushed off his clothes and took a taxi to Hongdae. The area was bustling, full of people celebrating the 4-day holiday. Myung-hoon quickly cleaned himself up and joined his friends. Damn, this place is packed. Hey, here, over here. His friends, all from the class of 2018, greeted him with a mix of impatience and camaraderie. They were about to serve Myung-hoon a drink when one of them mentioned his late arrival. Why were you so hard to get a hold of? You're an hour late. That'll be 50,000 won. Cut the crap. Myung-hoon was quickly served a drink, and the conversation turned to his earlier confrontation with Yoo-won. One of his friends asked, "So, what did you do with Kim Yoo-won?" The mention of Yoo-won caused Myung-hoon to freeze for a moment. He smirked, revealing his satisfaction. "I beat the shit out of him. I hope he made it to the hospital." His friends laughed and agreed, not feeling any remorse for Yoo-won's condition. Myung-hoon's bad memory from earlier seemed to fade away with each round of drinks. It's fine, I'll just beat him up later. The night was slipping by as they moved from beer to expensive liquor. The crowd outside was growing as New Year's approached. Why the hell are there so many people? It's the 4-day weekend. What time is it? 11:50. It's almost 2020. The cool night air began to sober Myung-hoon and his friends. As they prepared to leave, Myung-hoon's gaze fell on a familiar figure. Hey, isn't that Kim Yoo-won? Where? Oh shit, it is him. Myung-hoon's heart sank. Yoo-won stood amidst the crowd, holding a large luggage case, seemingly waiting for something. His presence was an unwelcome surprise. Doesn't he look fine? You're right. Myung-hoon's friends approached Yoo-won, and he felt a surge of anger. The day had not gone as planned, and the sight of Yoo-won now seemed like a cruel twist of fate. Hey, Kim Yoo-won. Surrounded by his friends, Myung-hoon approached Yoo-won with an air of intimidation. The group encircled Yoo-won, who remained calm and detached. It's almost midnight, Yoo-won said, checking his electronic wristwatch. It was 11:57 p.m. Yoo-won removed the watch and threw it to the ground. Enjoy your last 3 minutes? Yoo-won opened his luggage and pulled out an array of weapons. Sashimi knife, Swiss Army knife, machete, and an axe. The sight was menacing. Are you out of your mind? Myung-hoon and his friends were stunned. Yoo-won's display of weaponry and the impending chaos caused fear and confusion. Some people even called the police. 58 minutes. Yoo-won glanced around, noting the number of people around. Hongdae was indeed the right choice, filled with thousands of potential witnesses. It was Anyang before. He looked up at the sky, where the clouds had stopped moving, unnoticed by the crowd focused on the scene below. Finally, Yoo-won checked the dropped watch. It's starting. A piercing noise filled the air, causing widespread panic. People covered their ears, some fainting from the intensity. Yoo-won stood still, observing the transformation around him. The ground cracked open, and strange, new plants emerged. The sky's color inverted, turning ominously black. The watch displayed 2020, 0 o'clock hours. Sector 2031. Population 12. Zitron 14. It was a chilling announcement. The clock struck midnight, marking the beginning of a new era. The first sounds after the ringing were terrifying roars, echoing through the buildings. They're here! Yoo-won, gripping the knife, walked past Myung-hoon and his stunned group, who were still reeling from the shock. It's over. The tutorial will now begin. The 3 minutes. As the new year dawned, so did the start of a new and formidable challenge.